And we got a new agenda.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Could I ask everybody to stand? Gracious Heavenly Father, as we come before you, Lord, I come before you as humbly as I know. Father, dear God, I thank you for all your blessings. I thank you for all that you're doing in and through the school district, dear Father. I continue to ask your blessings upon each of the students from day to day. Lord, we thank you for your hand of protection upon them during this week, and ask for it for the coming week. Father, Lord, I ask that your Holy Spirit, dear God, envelop this room right now. Father, you lead us, you guide us, you use us for your glory, for the business and the benefit of the students here at Coffeeville Schools. Amen.
Amen.
Can I have a motion that we approve the revised regular board meeting agenda? Have y'all had a chance to read over the new agenda?
Yes. Yes.
We have to have a motion and a second first before any discussion. Okay, do I have a second? Okay. All right, I have Mr. Williams motion, Mr. Daly seconded. Can I have a vote, sir? What is your vote? No, I'm getting it right, I'm sorry. Since you made the motion, you get to ask the question.
I need to just say something to it.
Okay, which one I had, sir?
The newspaper, just put it in if you want to.
Okay.
I just have a question about that. Something we need to, I think we need to discuss.
Okay. All right. Can we discuss it in open session or?
No, yes, it's open.
Okay.
It's a newspaper, so it's open.
Okay, well, we can put it down, 15A. Does that sound okay? All right. Okay. Can I have a motion to accept the agenda as just revised?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Ms. Taylor made the motion. Can I have a second? Ms. Pope seconded. And your vote on accepting the revised agenda.
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Pope?
Yes.
Mr. Mr. Hughes, excuse me.
Yeah.
Ms. Daly?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Number 3, approval of the January 21st, 2020 revised regular board meeting minutes. Have y'all had a chance to read over those?
All the way out, so go ahead, change the titles, so just in case, approve that.
Okay. All right, so you're making a motion?
Yes.
Okay, can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Todd seconded. All right, so how do you vote? Mr. Glenn?
Yes.
Ms. Pope?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yeah.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Okay. We would like to, have a motion for Mr. Corey Franks and Mr. Gary Hicks to speak to the, school board of trustees, and they are here in the room today. Can I have a motion and a second?
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Glenn, motion. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Todd? All right, how do we vote, Mr. Glenn?
Yes.
Ms. Pope?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yeah.
Ms. Daly?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Franks, Mr. Hicks, the floor is yours.
I don't want to take up much of y'all's time. I know y'all have other things that y'all want to discuss, but I'm Corey Franks. I'm with the Mississippi Forestry Commission. I cover Yallowbusha, Calhoun, and Lafayette counties. And this is Gary Hicks. He was the regional office. As you kind of say, he's my boss, sort of, kind of. But pretty simple here. I should have ran off a few copies of this, but I will pass it around here in a minute. All I want to do is just get approved our activities that we want to do in our school section. If you don't mind, could you do that? But basically, I just want to approve what we have to do. It's a management plan on one of the sections that we have all those sections on a 5-year rotation. So with us having about 5.5 sections, that'll be basically one management plan that we will write per year. There is a cost for that. It's on that sheet that she's looking to bring back to you. I have a proposed timber sale in Oakland. Are y'all familiar with Oakland?
Yeah.
The Oakland section. It's 86 acre final harvest. We will see what we get for it. Obviously, if the prices aren't what we want them to be, we won't accept the bid. Every year, we're always gonna be trying to manage something, more than likely. Timber prices are not what we want them to be, but I guess basically, we can't just let that timber sit there, so to speak, a lot of times.
Excuse me, may I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
What's the current price for a final harvest versus a thinning?
Final harvest versus the thinning, you could probably say if you were doing it on a pay-as-cut basis, somewhere in the ballpark for pine, and don't hold me to this, it's just an estimate. You would probably say around 18 to 19 to 20, say between 18 and $20 a ton on pine saw timber for final harvest. And when you go back to that thinning stage, you're not gonna have much of that pine saw timber in there. You're gonna be looking more at chip and saw and pulpwood. Open that stand up, let the existing trees there that you wanna make saw timber grow. So that chip and saw price, I just sold one in Calhoun County, the second thing, for $7 a ton on the chip and saw. And the pulpwood is not very great, but we got $2 a ton for it.
If you break it down per acre, what our sales have been looking like here lately on the thinnings, you're looking between the first and second thinning, you're looking $200 to $400 an acre, breaking down per acre. On a final harvest, you're looking at anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500 an acre.
Yeah.
So there's
What, I got a question. The last time we sold some timber, for some reason, we had trouble even getting a price on it, and when they did, then they wouldn't pay us for it. They just paid as it was delivered to the mill. But is that the way that it's migrated to?
What you talking about before our last sale? The one we done about a year and a half ago?
No, before that.
Okay.
So what you typically have, your thinnings, you want to sell those, we call them pay-as-cut sales.
Yeah.
So as a log truck goes to the mill, they weigh it, they pay us on a per ton basis.
Mm.
The reason you do that is because you don't know the exact volume that's gonna be coming off that stand. That cutter, when he goes in there and cuts those trees down, he's making judgment calls on, okay, this one needs to stay, this one needs to go. To space them out. So you do it on a per acre, per ton payment. On a clear cut, you're going in, or final harvest, you're going in and taking out everything. So we go in and cruise it, we have a tonnage, we know how many tons per acre, blah, blah, blah. So those usually do what we call a lump sum, and that's where you get, they'll come in, write you one check, and here it is.
Yeah.
So that's the difference in those two, like thinning versus the final.
The last one that we done,
Have y'all done a timber?
yeah, we
sale
done
about a year ago?
one about a year and a half ago with a lump sum. It was on Scody. We got 150
We got a
acres.
good price for that.
We got $104,000 and some change for 115 acres. So we got just under $1,000 an acre. So that's not optimal, but that stand wasn't optimal either. That stand actually, funny you mentioned ice storm, that stand actually had some ice storm damage on it. And there's a lot of the bigger, more mature timber that we do have on these sections that have some ice storm damage and some poor form trees.
Mm.
So we may not get as optimal a price as we would hope for on some of this stuff, but at the end of the day, we've got to manage a healthy forest, and we've got to get some new stuff coming in.
Yeah.
One problem that we do have though is we have a lot of first thing stuff, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old across these 5.5, 6 sections, and we cannot get a bid at all. Matter of fact, we asked one logger if he would be interested, didn't put anything out or anything, just went to him and said, hey, if we get this up for sale, would you bid? And he said, I might give you 50 cents a ton for it. But he said, I probably won't give you that because we've got so much pulpwood bought up right now. And the big problem with that is you have two basic mills they're hauling this to. They're hauling it to Camps, Tennessee, and they're hauling it to Northport up in Guntown. And that's basically it. So you've got this oversupply of pulpwood in North Mississippi, and there's way more, not near enough demand for it.
Is it not cost effective? Because before y'all, we have people that wouldn't even give us a price, and I know that they need wood all over the world. It's just cost prohibitive to send it where y'all.
It is, you take like Camps, Tennessee, that mill there, and you got Northport, they take a little bit of outside wood, mainly they buy right there around their little mill. So Camps, Tennessee is your really only pulpwood mill around here. So of course, they have the run of the market, you know, this is the price we're gonna pay you, you either bring it to us or you don't, you know, and the logger doesn't have an option, that's where it goes. So they're not offering great prices, because they know, you know, they can get it. And so they're not getting a good price, and then from Yalobusha County to County Tennessee Mill is 150 miles one way. So the trucking cost to that logger is what each, so that mill says, we'll pay you X amount of dollars per ton for the wood. So then that logger has to go, okay, well, it's gonna cost me this much to haul it to that mill. It's gonna cost me this much to cut it, you know, to pay my guys. And then so he works all that down, and by the time he takes all that out, there's not enough money left on the table to really offer anything for that's what that logger was saying. He said, once I do all that, I may have 50 cents to $1 per ton to offer you.
Yeah.
And so it's
Location is one of the biggest nemesis, I guess you'd say, just kind of where some of these places are located. If they were located 70 miles north of here, 80 miles north of here, yeah, we could probably get a decent price on some of our pulpwood. And hopefully one day, I don't know what that magic's gonna be to make that happen, but hopefully one day we can see something to where we can at least move pulpwood, because we've got a lot of critical stands right now. We've got some 20-year-old stands that's never been thinned. To be quite honest, we really don't know what we're gonna do if we can't get them sold, because even if you don't get a lot of money for them, they're getting to the point to where some of those have got to be cut, because they're so tight that they're just gonna stagnate and they're not gonna grow right. But
your thinnings, they're not your money makers. That those thinnings, what you're doing is setting that stand of timber up for that final harvest to make that $1,400 an acre versus that $200. And so that's what we're running into, is especially with these first thinnings, is not being able to get those things sold and moved to condition that stand to get to that final harvest stage. And so not only us, but, you know, we run through this throughout the state with the commission on a bunch of school sections. And we're, you know, talking through statewide really on ways we can, other avenues possibly to help mitigate that.
Yeah, because we need to get all we can get for, you know, we need to get fair market value for our timber.
Right. And of course, when we put one out for sale, when that bid comes in, you know, we're gonna evaluate it, and we'll come to you and we'll give you our recommendation, you know. We recommend you don't accept this because it's not what we do, and here's why. And of course, you know, it's just y'all's call. But just know, if we do get some bids on these first innings, it may be a low price, but we're probably gonna recommend to accept those, being that the situation the stand is in now, being in that critical stage due to forest health reasons. Those trees are gonna start dying, you're gonna get beetles in them, and all these other things. So that could, you know, be a factor in it. But like I said, we gotta jump over the first hurdle, and that's to even get it in.
Yeah.
we gotta get it ready to start with.
And I've talked to Corey, I've talked to my other foresters, and I've told them, just because we know the timber market situation right now is not very good, that doesn't mean we're just gonna stop. At least trying to put, you know, we're gonna put some sales out there. We may not get any bids on them, you know, but we gotta keep trying. So we're gonna keep putting them out. And hopefully we'll find that logger that's needing to do some work and can get a decent price and can offer a decent price for it and get it sold. So that's kind of where we're at right now. But you did have some stands in some of these sections that were way past due on being finally harvested and replanted. And that's what Corey's been kind of working on right now, focusing on those until this pulp market picks back up. And what that also does is, we know y'all went a long time here without the timber sales. It does two things. One, you know, it starts generating some revenue from these timber sales, but we also get the relationship back with the loggers. You know, we get these loggers start bidding on some of these final harvests, and then we can come to them and say, hey, we got these first innings, you know, we really need to get moving. And so it kind of builds that relationship, and hopefully can get them to want to start bidding on that stuff again. So that's kind of what we've been talking about, discussing on how to approach this.
You can see here, this is the 3 activities that I proposed this year, and all my activities proposed are all on Oakland. That management plan there, the Oakland section is only about 299 forested acres. That's the total acres on that. If it's a non-forested, we don't write any kind of plan on it. That's ag lease. That's just listed as non-forest. But forested acres is about 299 acres. Estimated expense on that is a little over $1,000. And you will get a cost share on that. That cost share rate will be dependent on what is in the escrow account. So I will need a escrow balance so I can tell how that gets cost shared. y'all are allotted $7,000 per year of cost share money. So every fiscal year, which our fiscal year starts in July, from July to July, I can get y'all $7,000, up to $7,000, I should say. The next line down there is what I was just talking about, that final harvest, 86 acre final harvest. You can say my estimated revenue for that's 83,405. Estimated expense, and that expense comes from us going in, cruising, marking, painting, getting the timber sale out the bottom, getting everything ready to go. That's the expense we have with that timber sale. And boundary line maintenance, that's one thing that we don't want to slack on, because if we ever did lose those boundary lines, there's no telling what it would cost to get a survey done. It would be a whole lot more expensive than it would for us to, do a little bit of boundary line painting. And I think that goes for about $270 a mile is what we charge, and we furnish the paint.
Yeah.
So that's what I have listed. Hopefully we can get better bids than that. That's kind of what we're shooting for. And if we just put pencil to paper and that $83,000, if it's gonna cost too much to get that stand reforested and it's really gonna pull the escrow account down too low, we might evaluate that back and evaluate our options. We just gotta watch that escrow account and kind of see what's in it and go from there. But as you can see, that it's pretty self-explanatory, but if any of y'all have any kind of questions y'all would like to ask, y'all feel free we'll try to give you an answer.
Where all do y'all publish to ask for the bids?
So, I have a list of loggers all across North Mississippi, from over here all the way over to Itawamba, Monroe County. So I have that list. I send a mail out, a hard copy of that bid prospectus. We put it in the newspaper. It's got to run in the newspaper for 1 day, of course. It goes in there. I have to send that prospectus to the Secretary of State's office, and they put it on their website. They list all their timber sale bid packets on there, so it also goes there. So there's
What
three
about
different-
that mill over there at Fulton on the side of the Tom Higby there? Do they not buy timber?
Now, Homan, they do, they buy a small amount, but they buy what they call chipping saw size. Yeah, it's a little bigger wood than your pulp wood. Over this way, that we don't have a chipping saw more. That's about the only chipping saw mill around, and they buy all the timber pretty much over there. So over
A
here,
bunch of mills over across at Arkansas. I don't know how far that is, but.
yeah, and that actually, that GP mill, they have shut a portion of that mill down. I think it was the pulp side of it, so you lost that now. So again, we need more bills, that's what we need, and the commission, I know our state forester just met yesterday with, a bunch of, the legislators discussing the need for mills in North Mississippi, so, we'll see how that goes.
And none of that's the size to go to, both, the paper mill.
Here,
Yeah.
small amount can, what it depends on is, it specifically depends on the logger, who bids on it, and if they have an in with that mill. Because those mills only take so much wood from the logger, they put them on a quota, and that mill, the mill over in Grenada, they take just a small amount, and so they don't have a whole lot of loggers that really haul to them. They probably have a select few that they use, and they usually put them on a small quota, like they may put them on a 4-load a week quota. Well, that's not enough,
That's 1 day's cut.
Yeah, I mean, a logger, he would like to get 8 to 10 loads a day. So if he can only haul 4 of there, he's got to find out where to send the other 6, or so loads, and so that's where it gets really tricky.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Do I have a motion that we go ahead and grant Mr. Court, Mr. Franks, and Mr. Hicks permission to run the ad in the paper and to try to, okay, I have a motion, do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, Ms. Davis seconded. All right. And what is your vote, Ms. Blaine?
Yes.
Ms. Pope?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes? Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Okay. Number 5, permission to review and discuss Robert's Rule of Orders by myself. We always, last month, I kind of noticed that And if we don't, well,
Are you wanna make a motion like you did previous times?
it is permission, I'm sorry. All right, do I have a motion that we can quickly cover these?
I make that motion.
Can I have a second? Okay, all in favor, Mr. Glenn?
No.
Ms. Pope?
No.
Mr. Hughes?
Yeah.
Ms. Blaine, Daly?
Yes.
Okay, and I will vote that we do this real quick. I kind of noticed last month that, we may have been slipping a little bit on how we respect one another, I've seen several people that kind of talking out of order, and I just want to quickly hit the high points of this. Because I think it's fair to our people for us to be hopefully as professional as possible and respect each other as much as possible. The purpose of Robert's Rules and Orders is to ensure the majority rule, protect the rights of the minority, provide order, fairness, and decorum to facilitate the transaction of business and to expedite the meetings. The basic principles is that it's a full and free discussion, but everybody has to be recognized before they start to speak. If one person is speaking, nobody else can speak until after that person has surrendered the floor or they have met their 3-minute limit. And it goes on into handling a motion, which we have kind of already displayed. But some of the general rules I want to cover is that no members may speak until recognized by the chair. All discussion must be relevant to the immediate pending question. No member can speak more than once to each motion. No member can speak more than 3 minutes. All remarks must be addressed to the chair. No cross debate is permitted. It is not permissible to speak against one's own motion, but one can vote against one's motion. Debate must address issues, not personalities. No one is permitted to make personal attacks or questions the motives of other speakers. The presiding officer must relinquish the chair in order to participate in debate and cannot resume the chair until the pending main question is disposed of. When possible, the chair should let the floor alternate between the speaking in support and those speaking in opposition to the motion. Members may not disrupt the assembly. Rules of debate can be changed by a 2/3 vote. Robert's Rules helps to get things done. It makes motions. Make motions that are in order, obtain the floor properly, speak clearly and concisely, obey the rules of debate, and most of all, be courteous. That's always in order. And that's what we want to do, is respect everybody and give everybody an opportunity. Item number 6, can I have a motion that we give permission to the superintendent's office to advise the bids in all the local papers for district bank accounts, pest control, and waste management as required by the state?
I make that motion.
Can I have a second?
I'll say.
Okay, Mr. Hughes seconded. Mr. Blaine, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Pope?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
All right, it is passed.
Man, hold on for a minute. Can I get a list of the papers that they're gonna be putting in?
You can do that.
Okay.
Because we've already voted on it, that can be done after the meeting. All right. Number 7, protocol for proper usage of electronic devices during and after meetings. We would like to make a motion and set a policy tonight. There is a state law in the state of Mississippi that states you can record a conversation if you are part of that conversation. The other person doesn't have to know anything about it. And we know that everything that is done in executive session is to stay in between the board members. And that has not happened in the past. And what we would like to do is to kind of put a lock on the door. A thief is going to get in regardless, but a lock keeps an honest man honest. So what we want to do is during executive session, we would like for all electronic devices, anything that is possible to record or transmit a voice or a conversation, to be removed from the board room while executive session is taking place.
I got a question,
But we'd have to get a motion and a second before any questions.
okay.
But that doesn't mean we can't answer it. Can I have a motion?
I move that we put that on the table for discussion.
Okay, may I have a second? Okay. Then we will not do it because it is not needed. Got a second? All right, number 8, accept the consent agenda for the following list of items. Everybody has looked over that, I perceive.
Yes.
Would we like to make a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Make that motion.
Okay, can I have a second?
No, sir.
Okay, Mr. Blaine, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Pope?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yeah.
Ms. Daly? All right. Number 9, the following physical items inclusive of claims docket, budget status for cash flow, statement of income, statement of expenditures, bank reconciliation, and cash balance statements are submitted for discussion and approval by the business office. We have January 2020 computer manual check claim docket 26/351 to 24/427 and retroactive 27/257. Can I have a motion that we approve these?
I'll make the motion.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, do we have any discussion? Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
I recognize you. Yes, ma'am.
I noticed one of the things that Mr. Monk and very concerned me that all the overdraft fees that were accumulating.
Okay,
And also I noticed that again, on our claims docket, there was a check for $146,000, which it is that's for our gym, our central office and our gym. But I don't see it on December or January's claim docket.
you should have the January claims docket.
I have it here.
Could I look at it, please, ma'am?
It's not on that claims docket. That, was approved prior to, that was a contract that this district got into in 2011, so that's paid out of the QSAP. That's why it's on your reconciliation statement. It comes through that. Just like that available, if you never see that on the claims docket, because it comes through automatically. But if you want to approve today that is going to be on the claims docket annually, it can be.
Okay. Let me share something with you right here that, Ms. Thomas, our business manager, who has been in Jackson all week, her and Ms. Brown with, MSBA, MDE, mandatory training all week. She says, when we left for Christmas break, there were additional checks mailed out that I was unaware of. Since I was unaware, I did not know to write a check and deposit into the accounts payable account to cover those additional 4 checks. Any financial institution is going to charge those $36 return check fees every time an additional check goes through. Even though this issue occurred in December, it continued in January because we did not return until the 7th, in which I found out when Lisa from the bank called the office. As a courtesy, they may reverse those fees on the next bank statement. Also, I was not given the lines where the bond loan was paid, so the money was taken from district maintenance. The check was for $144,000, not sure of the exact amount, therefore, I had to get you talking about Dr. Robinson to sign a check withdrawal slip to pay district maintenance back for funds withdrew. Those funds came from QSAC account, which is shown on both the QSCB and district maintenance account bank reconciliations. If board needs documentation, it's on my desk because I printed it for my records. But that is the reason we deferred the overdraft fees, and she is in negotiation with the bank to get those eliminated.
Okay. But when we approve the claims docket, we're approving this amount. So if anything has to be added tomorrow,
That goes on
That-
next
that-
month. What we do tonight covers tonight. Anything else done tomorrow goes on next month.
now my question is if a check has to be added tomorrow. If we come here tomorrow and there has to be a check added, I mean, because we're,
You can't add it to
can't
the
add
claim.
it to this claim docket,
No.
right? Okay, nothing can be added to this claim docket.
Correct.
So the business manager, from now on, need to be made known that anything over this claim docket, she needs to move. Because I think what's happening, and I'm just saying, is she's moving this amount on the claim docket that's been approved, and then not knowing that additional checks are being, and we're acquiring those overdraft fees.
That was a one-time incident. We were out for winter break. That's not the case. And we have Jim Key here. You can move money without changing the scope of the budget. And so it's not uncommon practice when things come up that we haven't budgeted for, that we have to move money for. However, when we're closed for winter break, there's no one here to move money.
We never had that happen in the past, but there were
Well,
10
but-
What we're
overdraft,
talking about right now.
there were 10 overdraft charges. 10.
But, Mr. Keith, is that right? Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, you know, y'all are trying to balance your books and do it correctly. But Christmas is a difficult time because you're only here for 2 weeks. And some things come in that have to be paid. And even the auditors said that there are certain routine payments and things like that that can go ahead and be paid and be ratified at the next board meeting. But you need to have a policy in place that allows that practice, and then you also want to set a limit on how much it ought to be. Because, for example, utility bills, you don't have to wait for the board meeting to pay your utility bill, because if you do, your lights are gonna be cut off. So there are some routine things, so we probably need to get a policy together that establishes that. But as long as we got a track record, is what we're doing, and that's what the state auditor keeps saying. In order to make sure that people understand what happened, have it in the minutes as to why it is reflected that way, and you'll be okay.
Okay.
So that's what this is all about.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Did I have a motion excuse me, any more questions? Okay, did I have a motion that we approve?
Thank you.
Got the motion, get it.
Okay, what is your vote, Ms. Blaine? Ms. Pope,
Yes.
Mr. Hughes? Ms. Daly?
Yes.
Okay. Can I have a motion to accept the February 11, 2020 personnel report?
Move, we accept.
Okay, do I have a second? Okay, how do you vote, Mr. Blaine?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ms. Pope?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yeah.
Ms. Daly?
Yes.
Okay. Number 11, permission to hire Michael Watkins and Jennifer Gaston as principals for the 2020-2021 school year. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, can I have a second?
A second.
Okay. And your vote, Mr. Blaine?
Yes.
Ms. Pope?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Ms. Daly?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any citizens' comments tonight? Okay, so we'll just skip on over that. Number 13, discussion of tires for the Coffeeville School District buses. I think Ms. Polk had kind of raised a question on this, and so would you like to start?
Yes, some things, I know we can't listen to everything that the public brings us, because they, but, when I get numerous concerns, numerous complaints about the condition of our tires on our buses,
Mhm.
we're, that's our kids' safety. And I know that we did have a bus that went to Memphis, had a blowout. And not only that, but it's gonna save us money if we can have, a few spare tires in the district, so when something happens like that, so we don't have to be made to go to a garage and have to, do all of that. I think we'll read and just have someone, check our tires, make sure that they're great, because it is the safety of our children. It is.
Okay. All right. Oh, Dr. Robinson, is Mr. Weaver still in the bus shop?
Mr. Weaver is in the bus shop this summer where it is common practice, and our attorneys here as well, who can speak behind this. It's common practice to do a thorough investigation, evaluation on your fleet over the summer. And so he was given a directive to do a thorough evaluation of all the bus fleet, and I will be willing to bring that in at the next board meeting. It's carbon copy. It was done in maybe a 2-day period for the entire fleet. And so I have to, depend upon, everybody is in a paid position, so I have to depend upon the information that they share with me. And I agree. The tires should be in great shape because safety is our top priority. And we do check that. It's unfortunate that there was a blowout when we were coming from Memphis, but thankfully everybody was safe. We were able to get that changed. So we readily addressed that. And so I did bring the requisition and the purchase orders that are dated, that we have changed tires in November and December. Because when it's sent into this office, we readily accommodate anything dealing with transportation with our students. And even when you cut off spending around March or April, the spending never stops in our bus fleet and in the bus shop. That is the only place that the spending continues. And you can speak to that, Jim Keith, if you would like. But I do want to submit this as those tires were changed, and there is an extra tire in the bus shop at this time right now.
Okay. Just a quick question. Do we know if the tire that blew out, was it wore down or was it road hazard?
Now, that I cannot answer for you.
Okay.
All I can tell you is when I get information such as that, we rarely go into a plan of action.
Okay.
And Mr. Weaver is in that bus shop, and before a field trip goes out, just like it's on this agenda right now, we do try to get the trips approved ahead of time. And so it's his responsibility to check over that. Just like when we received a report from the bus drivers that they were having to check their own oil and they were having to put in antifreeze. We had one bus driver who had it on her bus. That's a hazard to the students. So we asked her to remove that, and he was told when those buses come in, he has to readily come out there and check their hood. Then they came in, we had to put a lock on the gas tank because it was brought to this board that it was broken into, and we did submit the police report where it was broken into. So we put a lock on the gas and we limited who had the key. So the bus fleet, and the bus fleet is very important. And many of them wanted to gas up in the morning. We didn't have someone there. So once they brought the concern here, we immediately modified that. And there's someone there at 7:00 every morning to unlock the gas key so that they can gas up if they so desire. And Mr. Weaver is responsible for pumping their gas. That was another concern of theirs. We do have female. And this is not a generalization. I don't like pumping gas either. And so if they would like to have their gas pumped, then Mr. Weaver is there to do that. So when there is something that we've done that's not accommodating for the bus drivers or anyone else in the district, we do allow them to come and we try to come to a common accord. And no, everyone does not have a key to the gas tank because we were running out of gas too quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, they should have some kind of, if they don't, they really need some kind of a PM program, weekly, bi-weekly,
Well, the State
something.
Department of Education has a checklist or kind of accountability checklist when they come in to check your bus fleet.
Okay.
And we should be using that same checklist to check the tail lights, check the brakes, check this, and we'll be doing that on an ongoing basis. I mean, that's just standard operating procedure.
They may just need to be,
Sure.
implement that a little bit better
Sure.
over there.
Okay. Number 4, anything else? Okay. Number 14, discussion of physical counseling for the Coffeeville School District Board of Trustees. once again, Ms. Polk has brought it that she would like to see us, have some counseling with the Mississippi School Board Association. I have no problem with that. I will be contacting Dr. Walter and seeing when we can schedule that to take place here. I do know that they have training coming up this very next week. They have other trainings ongoing, and we will try to see when possibly we can possibly work that in. Yes, Ms. Davis.
I have a comment. When Dr. Walter comes in to do trainings for the board and specifically for the SBA, you know there's an upward of $10,000. So
What now?
there's an upward of $10,000 normally when the BMSBA comes in for a training. Because, you know, we requested a training for board management training some years ago, and that training was gonna be about $15,000 when you come in over a 2.5 year period to do that training. As far as fiscal counseling, I agree, I respect Ms. Polk's feelings for fiscal counseling, but I mean, I think all of us are able to read a financial statement. And the questions that we have our superintendent, we have our business manager now that I think we are on board with. And then we have our attorney here who has provided us any kind of advice that we needed over the years. Well, over the last 3 years, since I've, been active here. So, I mean, if it's the general consensus of the board to do that, that's fine. But I don't feel like it's needed because I think we all are able to read financial statements. I mean, I am. I think Mr. Bland is. I know Mr. Todd is because he deals with it on a daily basis. I think you are. So, I mean, do you need counseling?
It's not, so I know how to read the statements, but,
What's the issue? I mean, I'm just asking. Okay.
Okay, all right, Ms. Polk. You have a comment? Okay, then let's do this. Can I have a motion that will allow me to contact Dr. Walter, see when we can schedule counseling and see what that cost will be to the school district? And then we will bring that back at another meeting and present that, and then we will weigh the cost against the fiscal county. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Glenn, what's your vote?
Yes.
Ms. Pope?
yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yeah.
Ms. Daly?
Yes.
Okay. Number 15, discussion of the repair of major leak under the Coffeeville Elementary School building. Dr. Roberts.
We did notice at some previous, board meetings that our water bill had gotten exceptionally high just at the elementary school. And so, I spoke to Mayor Shelton yesterday, and I also spoke to him early on, as I've reported out to the board before. So, it was a job that they could not quite get it done for us, but speaking to him yesterday, they're still willing to assist. But at a previous meeting, Mr. Hughes, you shared Mr. McDaniel's name with us, and we have been trying to get him, and he has been really overwhelmed with other jobs that he had. I do recall contacting Mr. Hughes maybe last week for some additional names. We did call one of the names on there that you had given, but as you know, the weather did not permit for them to come out. But nonetheless, we were able to get back in touch with Mr. McDaniels, and they are scheduled to come tomorrow between 8 and 10. So here's the question that he has, that I am going to pose to the board. When he comes, is he coming just to give an evaluation for the leak? Because the leak is pretty bad because it has become costly. And if you go out there, it's over there near the back of the cafeteria, if you know where that is. And you can really visually see it running out. And this has been a leak that has just gone, unaddressed, but nonetheless, we need to get it under control. And so we need to know if he's gonna come out tomorrow between 8 and 10. We hope that he comes. And if so, do we want him to just give a quote for what he is going to charge? Or are we going to give him permission to, if he's able to at that time, go ahead and repair?
Well, how much is the water bill gone up, Dr. Roberts?
This last, if you look at that, it was like 5,000.
I mean, but what, it's went up 5,000?
It's gone up to that since we noted that it's a leak. Remember, it's always been like maybe 2,000.
So
But
it's
then,
gone up
it,
3,000.
yeah, it went up to
Okay.
3, then it went up to 4, and now we're
Five.
kinda like up to 5. So we don't know what the cost is going to be, but that was his question that I was unable to, at that moment, to answer, because as we shared at the last minute, you know, it's under the structure, and so we can anticipate it's going to be
It's gonna be over
costly.
5,000.
But we also have to bear in mind the money that we are paying every month, and we want the city to get their money, but the money that we're paying every month is 4,000, 5,000, 4,000, 5,000. You can get that fixed and it won't be as much.
Well, just my 2 cents worth, I would tell any of them that we just want a quote, because I wouldn't want to just let them come in and time and materials or whatever. I would just, I'd want to get a quote, but we do need to get that fixed, you know, and so I think we ought to give the superintendent the authority to approve that once she gets a quote. And, you know, if you get a quote, then he knows that he's locked in to a certain amount. And,
Now, let me ask, when I get a quote, at that time, because I know you can't email things like you used to back in the day. Am I able to, like, let's say he comes out tomorrow, he gives me the quote, and I just email all the board members, or no?
Well, this is, you don't have to bid this as you know.
Well,
Right, no, I don't
But
mean
you
to
do want a
bid,
quote.
just
You
whatever
want a
he
quote.
says he's gonna charge.
But, you know, you're not gonna get anybody to come in here and give you an exact price on what's gonna take to fix a leak under a building, because they have
Right.
no clue what it's gonna be.
yeah.
So what you ask them is for a range of what they think it might be, and y'all will authorize her to go ahead and pursue that, because we can't wait. I mean, if there's a leak under this building, we're gonna get structural damage, and we really are in trouble then. So I would ask that the board authorize her to get a quote that will get him started, and at least on the initial phase of it, if it goes above a certain amount, come back to the board. So y'all can set a limit, $10,000, for example, and then anything above that, she needs to come back to the board. But I would recommend you let her move on this. In fact, y'all discussed this last month when I was up here, and we don't need to wait on this any longer.
We did.
Okay, so is that a motion, Todd?
It is.
Okay.
Put a
can-
cap on it.
What was the cap?
9,000. What?
I was just saying, man, Jim said 10, if we've been paying an extra 2 a month.
Yeah,
I would say 15.
Well,
Well, it's involving concrete under the building. That's the only reason I said that.
well, and I'm,
Well,
I
Todd's
wonder,
got.
can I go by, I wonder if I can, go by there and look at it. I wonder how far into the building it is, or I wonder if she needs to talk to an engineer, is what, you know.
The only reason I said 15, excuse me, the only reason I said 15, because I had talked to Mayor Shelton about it. And he said, he
Yeah,
looked
you
at
gotta
it,
dig, it's something.
yeah, he says it's way under there. He said they're not equipped to handle it, but they will assist to help offset the cost. But he said it's gonna take to jack in the concrete, and then they're gonna have to go underneath the building where it is. He said they investigate as far as they can. They still can't find the point of the leak, so it's underneath, a good piece under the building. So it's gonna require a lot of work.
We talked one time about bypassing something.
Yeah, I mean, I just wonder what it, somebody in here at maintenance is, yeah, I just wondered if it happens to just serve one fixture of something, one sink, or is it a main feed to a bunch of stuff?
I'm not sure. All I can tell you, the city was very willing to do the repair until it was deduced that it was bigger than what they were gonna be able to do.
Well, I think we ought to talk about it a little bit more, and I'm available anytime, especially late at night, but,
Have y'all even gotten an engineer to even look at it?
Not an engineer.
Well, you may need to do that, and then find out from the engineer or even an architect as to what needs to be done to do these repairs, and then you can get some idea of what the estimate's gonna be. But I would get somebody out there tomorrow to at least give you some estimate on what's going on.
Do you know an engineer, Mr. Hughes?
Yeah.
Since you have.
And that doesn't have to be bid either, so you go ahead and get him out there to get an initial
You'll
quote.
meet I'll have him his name is Blake Reese is who I was trying to think if there's one in Grenada. There's no mechanical engineer in Grenada. Blake is in Yazoo City, but he could come up here. Blake Reese, RBR Engineering.
How many quotes do we need to get, because
Don't really have to have any on that, on a repair like that.
And you don't even have to get a quote, really, because it's a service, it's just a good idea to get a quote.
And I tell you, the service industry's changing. It's getting to where people wanna charge you just to come give you a price, you know? And I have a fight with them all the time about that, but I'm not paying anybody at my work to come give me a price, but, let's see.
And they do charge us for that. When they come out and they give us a diagnosis of, diagnostic of what has happened, they do charge for that.
But, let's see. If you want to, you can go ahead, Mr. Jackson, and I'll,
If you can just,
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna
before you go,
we'll
give us
call
that
Blake and
number.
just ask him if he come up here tomorrow.
Well, I was waiting on your motion.
Okay.
He did with the cap to it. Okay.
And so that was to get Mr. McDaniel.
Is it okay for me to call him, Mr. Keith?
Sure. And then, of course, on the board meeting, they've asked you to do it. Now, outside of the board meeting, no, you couldn't call him.
Well, he'll probably call me back.
Okay, so we need a motion that we're gonna go with the engineer first.
If it's way under that building and everything, it may be a different way to do it, and we, you know, us board members probably don't need to be going over there and looking at stuff, and so the real person to look at it that's not gonna be getting really paid for that would be an engineer. And, then he can see if there's anything else that needs to be done. It may be something we claim on insurance too.
Could be.
So I would, yeah, I'll make a motion that we, let Dr. Robinson get in touch with an engineer and assess the situation and get back with us here pretty quick because, or us be available for her to get back with us or something, where we can respond to this hopefully in a day or two.
Okay. Where she can poll the board and you can get the
Yeah.
authority
She
she
can
needs
have,
to move
y'all can
forward.
have a call, telephone conference meeting, you notice it,
Yeah.
and then get you guys on the speakerphone and let you know what the quote is, but the process will be approved. Get an engineer out here, look at it, get a quote on what you think it's gonna be, and then let y'all know what it is, so you can approve going forward with that.
Okay, so get the engineer and McDaniel.
That's,
So
you
that-
took
This
words-
is motion, this is motion.
Mr. Keith took words right out of my mouth.
Okay.
And I would limit it to this individual, because if that person's not available,
Right,
that person
yeah.
or anyone that she can find is available.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying,
Everybody set a cap.
so you're saying the engineer?
No, we're
and
gonna get an
McDaniel,
engineer to investigate.
or just the
He
engineer?
gonna give us a range.
No, engineer and any subsequent,
And
contractor to do
Okay.
the work.
And the engineer shouldn't be, but, you know, $1,000, $1,500 for him to come and look at it and assess it.
At least it will, sure.
Yeah.
All right, so the motion is for Dr. Robinson to contact an engineer and a service provider to both come out, look and assess the situation,
Yeah.
report to her, and then she will report to the board before further action is taken.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mr. Hughes has made the motion to have a second. Okay, Ms. Pope seconded. Mr. Blaine, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Pope,
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yeah.
Ms. Daly?
Yes.
And the other thing too is the engineer has the legal authority and responsibility to do what's in the best interest and at the lowest cost and all that kind of will to oversee it for us, you know, or for her.
Okay. All right, 15A, discussion of the newspaper article. And since Mr. Blaine brought it up, we're gonna let him have first take that.
I was looking at the reading on the reading on the school board trustee. I think you were implying that the board was way out that article, and I this article being going.
Well, if I overstepped my bounds, I apologize. I felt it was better coming from the school board as opposed to an individual member because we can't act as individual members.
Right.
What information I given, put in there, some that we have been given in training. And my whole intent of the article, which we discussed last year, around the table.
We did.
And I mentioned to Mr. Booker, it felt like it would come best from the board president. He felt at that point in time, he didn't want to do it. So we backed away from it. The whole intent of the article is to try to help to educate the community that doesn't know a lot of the goings on in that the board has to do, regulations, different things. And if you would like me to, I will put my name only on there from now on. I will not. But I believe it is a great community interest for us to reach out. If you would like me to copy everybody with what I propose to put in there next month, that will be fine. It will only appear once a month, and it will appear on there the Tuesday of the school board meeting.
I was just letting you know before I go in, of course, somebody gonna call the next meal about it, because they're.
Sure, no problem.
What is it, Mr. Paul? What paper is it in?
That's all.
Oh, okay. Oh, this something you put in there, Ron?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I have no, I mean, I didn't have any problem with that article at all. I mean, our community needs to be, you know, educated, because a lot of times they come with us with things, want us, demanding us, and we don't even have the right. But I do think that anything that is gonna be put in there and it's gonna say it comes from the board of trustees, we all need to be notified
And
before.
that's.
Yeah.
No problem. And like I said, if I overstepped, if I offended anybody, I apologize. All right. Number 16, we need to go into a closed session to discuss possible issues that we would need to be covering in executive session. And this is the end of the open session. We appreciate you coming out. We thank you for your attendance and your attention. Y'all have a good night. Be careful going home. Try to stay warm.
I'm gonna take this opportunity to run the ladies' room. Thank you for your permission, sir.
I had this attorney one time that he was he's my age, he was he drove a good ways for me. When he got there, I said, David, I said, you know, I just kind of housekeeping stuff. I said, you go to the red room. No, sir, I sure don't, but if I do, I'll let you know. And I don't know what that was about, but I offended him.